All right, hi, I'm Joel Turner from Live Oak Life Media, and we'd like to welcome City Clerk candidate Tom Daniels. We appreciate you coming out, and glad to have you. And tonight, we just want to ask you a few questions that we put together that we think are great questions. Again, we appreciate you coming.
Oh, Joel, thanks for the invitation. I appreciate being here.
Great. All right. Well, the first question is just kind of a fundamental question. What does a city clerk do? What are his responsibilities?
Well, the city clerk is the official record keeper, and records are a broad spectrum of things. He issues licenses and permits. He's responsible for the recording of any and all official city documents. An example of this would be anything from, say, a road closing to an easement, an ordinance, a resolution. He takes the minutes of all the board and council meetings. His minutes are the official document should something happen with an ordinance or a resolution, because the minutes are transcribed into a resolution or an ordinance, but what he writes down is really the final thing, should there ever be something that comes up in that regard. He is also the city treasurer, one of 3 people here in the courthouse who can sign checks, and he's responsible for both the main cemetery and the East Side Cemetery. And not a lot of people know that we have 2 cemeteries, but we do. And maybe very important, when you come in here, it's probably the first guy you see.
Right. Okay. Awesome. The next question, just as good, is why do you want to be the city clerk?
Well, Joel, I feel I can make a difference. I want City Hall to be consumer friendly. The city is a multi-million-dollar enterprise, and your council is the board of directors. Our citizens are our customers. Being in business across the street from the courthouse for 30 years, I feel I know the pulse of the community. Also being self-employed for 30 years, I have the experience in knowing how to ride out turbulent economies, and I think we're in one right now. I think input from the business community to City Hall has been lacking, and I bring a skill set that can bridge that gap. I have been involved in many school activities, and many recreational events in the past 30 years. I've built personal and business relationships with many people throughout the county, and I think that will serve me well in the position. The people of Suwannee County and Live Oak have been good to me. Public service is a way of giving back.
Good answer. Well, another question. If you're elected, what is your first order of business? What do you want to tackle first once you get into office?
Well, Joe, we've had this discussion off camera. And my first order of business is to upgrade the clerk's computer system. I've discussed this with the city attorney, and he has a computer program, and you're more literate in this than me, I think called Icarus, which will allow us to cross-reference all city actions. And to give you an example of this, the railroad, we had road closings, and we'll just pick Scriven. So if you go to Scriven Avenue, it should tell you about a railroad closing, and an easement, and you know, whatever else may be in there. But if you go to railroad, Scriven Street should come up. Okay, if you go to road closing, Scriven Street should come up. So it's kind of a deal where it allows you to see where you've been and maybe help you on the track of where you might be going. And you know, not being privy to what happens here every day, I'm not sure how our current system is even backed up, and I have no idea how computer friendly it is. But I think that's the first thing we need to do, is make sure all our records are safe and that we have a system that's computer friendly.
Okay. Well, this is a similar question, but maybe on down in the future. What are your plans for the future as city clerk?
Well, it kind of runs into question 3, because before, if I should win the election, before I leave this office, I want the public to be able to go to their computer, and whether it's at home, or I think we should have 2 computers right out here in the lobby that you can access for, you know, whatever you need to for city business. Because if you go to the county courthouse, you can go down into their hall of records, and there are computers there for you to look up deeds and whatnot. And I think that that would be a good idea, to have that right here, so people want to see the money that's being spent, the ordinances that are being passed. You know, it's right there for them. And I would like the public also to have access, basically what we're doing right now, to city meetings in real time. And you know, that'll kind of, you know, really bring us into the 21st century, and you know, that's what they're doing now. We need to get in step.
Definitely. Well, awesome. This is from the things that you just mentioned. Are there any other specific actions that you'll take to improve the efficiency of this office?
Um, you know, Jimmy McCullers and Dolores Sellers have done an admirable job as the clerk and assistant clerk. And, you know, I think Jimmy's been the clerk for 28 years. He's been down here for 31 years. Before running for office, I specifically asked Jimmy, I said, what is your most difficult job? And when I give you the answer, you're probably going to be surprised. He said, the cemetery. And I said, the cemetery? And he said, yeah, he said, you know, there are plots out there that were bought when the cemetery started that have been sitting empty for decades. We need to find those people and see if they want their plots. If not, there are, you know, people here that do. One of the other things out there is people have an actual deed to their plot. And that brings up all sorts of legal issues, because if you own the property, how do I maintain it for you if you own it? And, you know, that's just a couple of the things that go on out there. Right now, a cemetery plot is $750, and people think, well, I paid my $750. Well, when they come to open the grave, that's another $200. So that's why I say, you know, it'd be a good thing to post fees, let people know. And of course, you know, somebody who bought their plot 20 years ago paid $150. You know, and then once again, there are two cemeteries, and you got to make sure that you're sending people to the right place.
Right.
So he said that was pretty difficult there, and getting current information out to the public would be another thing. And you know, of course, we have the newspaper, and it comes out twice a week, and you know, they do a great job. We've got radio, which you kind of get immediately, but as you know, we have internet.
Right.
And if people, you know, really want to know what's going on with their government, we should be able to get it on the internet immediately, and not after an action is taken, but before the action is taken, so people can have input into it, as opposed to just complaining that it was done and saying, I didn't know it was going to be done.
Right.
So those are some of the things.
Well, sounds good. Well, I want to give you an opportunity. We got Tuesday is the final election. And of course, we're in a runoff. Started off with 5 city clerk candidates, now down to 2, you and one other. And so Tuesday is the voting day, D-Day. So what would you like to tell your voters? And I'll just let you kind of have the last segment here. What would you like to tell your voters before Election Day on Tuesday? Well,
your city council has certainly done some needed things. The current sewer project is an example of having a good plan in place. Council is suspect, however, when the bidding process is circumvented. Next fiscal year, tax revenues will be down, and the city is going to be forced to cut services or increase fees. If the price for garbage collection remains the same and your service is cut in half, you're paying twice as much for garbage collection. As your clerk, I will be involved in the budget process and hopefully add some fresh ideas to our current services and keep everything in check. The city clerk doesn't have a vote on the city council, but he does have a voice, and I hope to be the people's voice.
Thanks so much for coming in, and
Thanks
good luck
for having
on
me.
Election Day.
Okay.